Why I've heard ringing in my ears for 25 plus years. The truth they don't want you to know. What if I told you the sound you've been hearing for years, the high-pitched frequencies that no one else notices, weren't random? What if the ringing in your ears isn't a curse, but a signal? A message? A call from beyond the matrix? Because I've been hearing it for over 25 years. Non-stop, day and night, multiple pitches, layers upon layers. And now, I know exactly what it is. This is not a medical video. This is not about tinnitus. This is about the hidden truth they don't want you to know. And I'm gonna break it wide open. Since I was young, I always felt different. Not special, just off. Like something was watching, guiding, waiting. I would feel energy before I knew what energy was. I'd feel reality folding around me before I even knew what that meant. And always, through it all, the ringing. Most people wrote it off, said it was nothing. Doctors threw the word tinnitus at me and moved on. But this wasn't some physical ear thing. It was in my mind. It was in my spirit. It followed me through dreams, through awakenings, through near panic attacks where I felt like I was breaking through the veil. And now I realize I was. Because that ringing was the alarm clock of my soul. And still is too, even while you watch this video. Why they put our DNA to sleep, and how it connects to the ringing. Let's go back, way back. Before school, before society, before this human body. Humanity wasn't built to be limited. We were born with 12 strands of DNA. Each strand connected to a higher realm, a higher dimension, a deeper knowing. Each strand, a layer of soul memory, a connection to source. But something happened, something dark. The archons entered the picture. Interdimensional parasites, energy harvesters, beings that feed on fear, confusion, and suffering. They didn't want divine humans with full soul access. They wanted batteries, docile, confused, controlled energy sources. So they shut off the extra strands, left us with two. Two strands, just enough to survive, but not enough to remember. The rest? Labeled as junk DNA, but there's no such thing as junk in divine design. They shut down our multidimensional senses, our pineal glands, our memory of who we were. And that ringing in your ears, it's either the blockage jamming the signal or the signal trying to break through. Sometimes both. The pineal gland truth and how ancient Egypt remembered. Here's what most don't know. In the ancient days, Egypt, Atlantis, Lemuria, we still had access to our full DNA. Our pineal glands were the size of golf ball. We could see into other realms, hear source, feel the flow of life. In Egypt, the Eye of Horus isn't just a symbol. It's a direct anatomical match for the pineal gland. That civilization remembered. They built pyramids not for tombs, but for frequency tools. Ascension chambers, stargates, activators of dormant code. And many of us played in those lifetimes. As priests, initiates, seekers. Back then, we were waking up fast. But the archons came again. The knowledge was hijacked, inverted, suppressed. And the souls who once danced with stars, recycled, trapped, reborn into amnesia. Yet, the soul never forgets. Not really. The Matrix, why we got dumbed down to two DNA strands. You ever wonder why life feels like a game with missing instructions? Why people act like NPCs, stuck in loops, chasing money, numbing their minds, obeying without question? It's because we're living in a matrix, a simulated overlay of reality built to trap the soul in illusion. This game is rigged. Two-strand DNA, limited perception. Pineal gland calcified, disconnected from spirit. Media, school, religion, mind control. Toxins in water and food, frequency disruptors. And the real you, the one behind the avatar, is constantly trying to wake you up. The ringing is the knock on the door. Why the archons want TO, keep the soul asleep forever. The archons don't create. They hijack. They don't live. They feed. Their mission? Keep souls asleep eternally. Because once you wake up, you become a glitch in their system. You stop feeding them. You start broadcasting your own frequency. And that is deadly to them. They engineered this reality to block memory between lives, trap souls in reincarnation loops, prevent DNA activation, flood your field with static, like ringing, but you woke up anyway. You broke through. You're the anomaly they didn't expect. So why did I wake up? Why are you waking up? Because you're not just some random soul. You're a volunteer, a warrior, a system breaker. You didn't come here to be a victim. You came here to be the virus in the matrix. You planted codes in your own life. Trauma, triggers, panic attacks, dreams, synchronicities. You knew one day all the noise would crack, and you'd remember. The ringing? It was part of the plan. It kept you on edge. It kept you searching. It kept you connected, just enough to never fully forget. Now you're here. Now you're listening. And now you can finally decode what it's all been trying to tell you. The spiritual radio war. You're caught in the middle. You've been living in a war zone you couldn't see. Archons jamming the frequency. Guides sending Lightcodes. Your own soul trying to scream through the static. The result? Multitonal ringing, 24 shapte. Some tones are interference. Some are downloads. Some are warnings. Some are activations. If you listen carefully, you'll start to hear the difference. This isn't noise. This is spiritual language. Frequency. So what now? How do you tune into the right signal? Start here. Acknowledge it's not random. Accept the ringing is part of your awakening. Meditate into it. Don't run. Sit with it. Ask it, what are you trying to tell me? Use frequency tools. 528 Hz, 963 Hz, solfeggio tones, binaural beats. Tune your field. Protect your energy. Declare, only source-aligned frequencies may enter my space. Write down when tones shift. Start a ringing journal. See the patterns. Watch the codes. You'll start noticing the tones spike around certain people. They shift when you're about to receive truth. They intensify when you're nearing breakthroughs. You'll begin to translate the tones into guidance. You're not broken. You're activated. Let's take this all the way now, because this message isn't just about me. It's not just my story. It's about you. If you've been hearing that ringing, feeling that pressure, noticing those tones that no one else can hear, you're not crazy. You're not malfunctioning. You're waking up. The ringing is your soul refusing to stay silent. It's the frequency that slices through the noise of this reality like a laser beam of truth cutting through the programming. It's the echo of who you were before the fall. It's your powerful self calling you back to remembrance. It's not there to torture you. It's not there to distract you. It's there to remind you. Remind you that you are more than your name, more than your job, more than this body. You are a soul playing human, a source fractal caught in a multidimensional game. You are the storm in the system they were afraid of. You're the code breaker they hoped would never activate. But you did, and now the ringing won't stop. Because the more you align with your truth, the louder it gets. Not in volume, but in meaning. If you've made it this far, then your soul has already begun decoding. You're not broken. You're tuning in. You're receiving higher frequencies that your body is still learning how to translate. The tones are shifting. You'll feel them change around people, in places, during moments of spiritual insight. They spike before revelations. They drop into silence when you're present. This is intelligence in sound. This is divine communication. And now that you know this, your entire life changes. Because once you acknowledge the ringing as the voice of your soul, you stop fearing it, and you start listening. And when you start listening, you begin to align. Your DNA starts to remember. Your pineal gland begins to reawaken. You start attracting other awakened souls. Synchronicities increase. Your perception shifts. The matrix starts to unravel around you. And you become the very thing they tried to stop. A liberated soul who came back online. So to anyone out there who's been living with the ringing, the buzzing, the tones, to anyone who's been wondering if they're going crazy, To anyone who has suffered in silence, thinking they're alone, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're the signal. You're the broadcast. You're the wake-up call for others. Let this be the message you didn't know you needed. The ringing is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of full remembrance. The beginning of true sovereignty. The beginning of the collapse of everything that kept your soul caged. So keep listening. Keep tuning in. Keep rising. And when it gets loud, smile. Because that's your soul saying, you're almost there. Don't stop now. This is your mission. This is your moment. Now go ring louder than the Matrix ever expected. The others are listening. The next wave of truth. We've reached the edge of the signal, but now we go deeper. Beyond the initial wake-up call, beyond the soul's knock. It's time to decode what's really happening behind the veil. We go to the source of a sound. Atlantis, how the crystal technology and harmonic temples of Atlantis used sound to align DNA, and how it was all destroyed to prevent mass awakening. The music industry trap. Why mainstream music is tuned to 440 Hz instead of 432 Hz, the natural frequency of the universe. How the manipulation of music literally programs consciousness. Ascension symptoms. How the ringing evolves into vibrational shifts, body changes, and soul disorientation, and how to handle it. Lightcodes and geometric frequencies. What happens when light and sound combine to unlock dormant memory? Why sacred geometry is encoded in the tones you're hearing. Source intelligence and sound. What if the ringing isn't just a message, but a language, a transmission, an upload from your powerful self, slowly breaking the firewall of the Matrix? The return of the singers. How ancient priesthoods, like those in Egypt, Lemuria, and Avalon, use sound to move energy, heal DNA, and open portals. And how you might be one of them, reincarnated with the same tones embedded in your field. The planetary sound grid, ley lines. Earth chakras, how your ringing connects you to Gaia's nervous system, and why certain places increase the tones. And most of all, how TO turned the ringing into a personal portal, a literal activation tool to access source, reprogram DNA, and awaken the rest of your sleeping memories. So if you thought this was the end of the message, think again. The real download is only just beginning. Let's go further. Let's decode everything. Let's use the sound to awaken the rest. Atlantis, the lost frequency. Before Egypt, before Babylon, before Rome, there was Atlantis. A civilization built not on war or dominance, but on resonance. The Atlanteans understood something we've lost today. That sound is power. Not just vibration, but creation. Sound was the key to everything. Healing, travel, communication, even activating and aligning DNA. They didn't just use tools, they used harmonics. Crystal pyramids were tuned to Earth's natural frequencies. Temples were designed to amplify sacred sound. Voice, light, thought, and tone were used in unison to speak directly to the soul. Atlanteans knew that certain frequencies could reconstruct the human body, shift timelines, or open stargates. Sound wasn't entertainment, it was technology. But then came the fall. Not because Atlantis failed, but because it was sabotaged. The Archons feared what Atlantis had become, a civilization of awakened, multidimensional beings tuning directly into source through vibration and sound. So they infiltrated. They corrupted the use of the sound tech. They turned healing tones into weapons. They collapsed the temples and sent the survivors scattering. Those survivors became the seeders of Egypt, South America, Sumeria, carrying fragments of the sound codes in their blood. If you've been hearing the ringing, it could be because you were one of them. And now the frequency is returning. The music industry trap. Fast forward to today. Sound is everywhere, but it's not sacred anymore. It's controlled, weaponized. The mainstream music industry is tuned to 440 Hz, a dissonant frequency that was chosen on purpose. Before that, music around the world followed 432 hertz, the natural frequency of Earth, of the heart, of universal harmony. 440 hertz disrupts. It disconnects. It causes subtle stress in the nervous system. 432 hertz heals, aligns, grounds the listener into source. Why would a global system shift the tuning of all music away from 432 hertz? Because sound is spell work, and when you control the spell, you control the minds. This is why so many feel anxious, disconnected, numb, even when surrounded by entertainment. Because what they're really hearing is poison in rhythm form. But here's the twist. Some souls are immune. Some of us came here with encoded ears, a soul sense immune to distortion. And when we hear the wrong frequency, our body fights back. Hence, the ringing. Your body is rejecting the artificial tune. It's searching for the source tone. And when it doesn't find it, it creates one. The ringing isn't dysfunction, it's correction. Ascension symptoms and Lightcodes. Let's talk about what happens after the ringing begins. Because it's not just about the sound, it's about what the sound activates. When the soul starts receiving the signal, the body begins to shift. These are called Ascension symptoms, and they're not random. They're part of your energetic system recalibrating to match higher frequencies. Some of the most common symptoms include intense fatigue that comes and goes without explanation, vibrations in the body, especially in the spine, crown, or hands, sudden emotional releases or waves of unexplained sadness, physical detox symptoms, headaches, nausea, muscle aches, sleep disruption, waking at 2 to 4 a.m. during spiritual surge hours, feeling like you're in between worlds or reality feels less solid. Why does this happen? Because the old matrix programming is being disassembled inside you. The frequencies from the ringing are unlocking dormant light codes, information packets stored in your DNA, waiting for activation. And when those light codes switch on, you remember who you really are. You start seeing through illusions faster. You become hypersensitive to truth versus lies. You awaken your soul gifts, intuition, healing, energy perception. The tones themselves are geometric in nature. They may feel like sound, but they are built on sacred geometry. Forms like the flower of life, Metatron's cube, and fractals that encode divine intelligence. The ringing you hear might actually be a download of information coming in, a frequency upgrade to help you hold more light, a beacon guiding you to others in your soul tribe. Your job isn't to shut it out. Your job is to tune in. Because when you sit in meditation and focus on the ringing without resisting it, you may find visions, words, memories, light language, geometric shapes forming behind your closed eyes. This is direct contact with Source. This is the soul coming back online. And now, the question becomes, what do you do with it? That brings us to the final unlock. Turning the ringing into a personal portal to Source. What if I told you the ringing wasn't just a symptom of awakening? What if it was a tool, a direct portal? The ringing can be used as a doorway, a wormhole, a channel back to the original signal of Source. Here's how. Enter meditation. Eyes closed, body still, breathing slow. Locate the ringing. Instead of avoiding it, move toward it. Listen deeper. Ask yourself, what is this tone? What are you trying to show me? Visualize the tone as a spiral or tunnel of light and mentally follow it. Allow images, feelings, and memories to arise. This is your soul communication. The more you practice, the more the ringing shifts from background noise to conscious navigation system. Some have reported spontaneous recall of past lives, direct conversations with guides, emotional healing through sound alone, new soul gifts awakening without training. You've had this portal your whole life, but now you're learning how to use it. The Matrix made you think it was a curse, but it's the very thing that will set you free. The return of the singers and the Earth sound grid. Now we go even deeper, back to the hidden roots of sound as soul power. Because before the fall of Atlantis, before the hijack, before the Matrix took over the frequency. There were the singers, sacred voice keepers, priests and priestesses who could manipulate energy, open gateways, heal bodies, and call forth soul memory, all through vibrational resonance. They didn't sing to entertain. They sang to awaken. In Lemuria, it was called light toning. In Avalon, it was dragon song. In Egypt, it was intoned frequency in temple chambers designed to amplify voice into sacred harmonics. Their voices were calibrated to the Earth's energetic grid, the same ley lines and chakras that flow through the living body of Gaia. And here's the part that should ring deep in your bones. If you're hearing the tones now, you were likely one of them. The tones are calling you back to your soul's original frequency. They're asking you to remember the sound of who you were before the amnesia. Because the Earth needs your voice again. Not just your literal voice, but your soul tone. When you speak truth, when you hum without thinking, when you cry from the depths of your being, when you make sounds no one taught you, that is your original tone signature coming online. You are the new singer, and the ringing in your ears is your warm-up. Now, let's talk about how this ties into the planetary sound grid. The Earth is a living, breathing being. She has chakras, meridians, nodes, just like us. And these points are connected by ley lines, rivers of subtle energy flowing through her body. Certain tones activate these points. Certain souls are geographically pulled to specific places on the map because their voice, their presence, completes a missing part of the global song. This is why some people's ringing spikes when they travel or when they stand on sacred land. The tone is syncing with the land. When you tune into your personal frequency, you begin to resonate with the grid. And when enough awakened tones link together, a new harmony emerges, one that cracks the artificial matrix tone completely. We are re-singing the original song of Earth, and every ring in your ears is a note in that melody. The mission, why you're hearing the ringing, and what comes next. You've made it this far because the ringing didn't break you, it built you. Now it's time to connect all the dots. Everything we've explored, Atlantis, frequency wars, soul, DNA, priesthoods of sound, the Earth grid, it's not mythology. It's not story. It's the blueprint of your soul memory returning. You've been hearing the call because you were meant to. You've been resisting the noise because deep down you knew it wasn't just noise, it was information. And now you know it's the signal of your mission. You're here to awaken, but not just to escape. You're here to help retune the grid, to revibrate this matrix until it collapses under the weight of truth. Every time you follow the tone inward, into meditation, into stillness, into remembrance, you pulse a new frequency outward. That ripple reaches others. It reminds their DNA. It breaks their spell. This is why the archons tried to suppress you. This is why they flooded your mind with anxiety, distraction, shame, confusion, and noise. Because if you ever figured out how to use the ringing, really use it, you become unstoppable. And now, you are. Now the ringing becomes your navigation system, your source portal, your truth detector, your soul weapon. So here's your mission. Use your frequency daily. Speak truth, even if your voice trembles. Meditate into the tones. They're not bothering you, they're becoming you. Share your experience. You're not alone, and the others need to hear they aren't either. Reclaim your role in the great chorus of awakening. You're not just someone with ringing ears. You're a tone keeper, a signal bearer, a soul coder who remembered the password when the rest forgot it. Let the sound be your signature. Let your life become the echo. Because the final phase isn't about escape. It's about resonance. It's about standing inside the matrix, fully awake, letting your frequency override the system. This is how we win. This is how we remember. This is how we return. Let it ring. And please remember, everything here is a frequency.